Nvidia launches AI PC platform for autonomous AI agents. Anthropic files confidentially for IPO. Microsoft switches to AI token pricing for GitHub Copilot starting today. Welcome to inuku.com, your daily dose of AI know-how. Imagine waking up tomorrow to find out your laptop has been autonomously auditing your corporate taxes all night. Sounds like a dream, honestly. But then you realize a robot is scrubbing your kitchen, and the catch is, it is trading the video footage of your messy apartment to the highest bidder to train its next generation model. It is a total privacy nightmare. And on top of that, your monthly software bill just quadrupled because your AI assistant was thinking too hard and burning through your wallet. Welcome to the agentic era. It is not just a software update anymore. We are watching the complete dissolution of the boundary between digital infrastructure and the physical world. The market mechanics operating underneath our feet have entirely detached from the reality we knew just 12 months ago. We are watching a trillion-dollar arms race unfold in real time, and the entire focal point of the industry has just shifted overnight. Anthropic just confidentially filed for a US IPO, and they hit an absolutely staggering $965 billion post-money valuation, almost $1 trillion. This is after closing a $65 billion Series H round, officially eclipsing OpenAI's $852 billion valuation. You really have to think about the gravity of that number for a second. A $965 billion valuation is not an investment in a software product. It is an investment in a new global utility. Investors are pricing Anthropic as if it is inevitable that their foundational models will become the base routing layer for the entire digital economy, the new electricity. You do not reach a near $1 trillion market cap by selling a $20 a month subscription to help college students write essays. This is purely driven by enterprise scale. Anthropic's revenue run rate just exploded, going from $10 billion last year to $47 billion. That $37 billion jump is hard to even process. It represents systemic, foundational enterprise demand. Basically, every Fortune 500 company is hardwiring Claude into their backend, because if they do not, they get left behind. To actually deliver on that demand, the infrastructure they are locking down sounds like a planetary engineering project. They are securing 5 gigawatts of power capacity from Amazon, another 5 gigawatts of next-generation TPU capacity from Google and Broadcom, plus dedicated GPU access from SpaceX AI. Throwing around the word gigawatts kind of obscures the sheer physical scale of what we are talking about. To put it in physical terms, a typical commercial nuclear reactor, like the ones you see with the massive concrete cooling towers, outputs roughly 1 gigawatt of continuous power. Anthropic is securing the electrical equivalent of 10 nuclear power plants completely dedicated to processing mathematical matrices. We are talking about the energy consumption of a small industrialized nation, localized entirely inside hyperscale data centers. Why the sudden violent spike in power consumption? Why did their valuation more than double from $380 billion just a few months ago? It comes down to a paradigm shift. The fundamental nature of what we are asking these machines to do has changed. We are no longer living in the chatbot paradigm. We have fully crossed over into agentic AI. The chatbot era was characterized by synchronous, human-in-the-loop interactions. You type a prompt, the system predicts the next sequence of tokens, spits out an answer, and then goes completely dormant. The computational load is a brief, intense spike followed by absolute zero. But an agent is totally different. An agent is a continuous loop. You give it a high-level objective, say monitor the global supply chain for semiconductor materials, cross-reference shipping delays with geopolitical news, and automatically reroute our purchasing orders if a bottleneck exceeds 48 hours. And it just runs. It does not wait for you. The agent breaks that massive objective down into subtasks. It searches the web, queries internal databases, accesses APIs, and reads the news. Crucially, if it hits a dead end, like a shipping API changing its authentication protocol, the agent does not just crash and wait for a human to debug it. It recognizes the error, reads the new API documentation, rewrites its own access script, and continues the task. It might run in the background, thinking, calculating, and course correcting for 3 straight days. This perfectly contextualizes Anthropic's latest developer update for Claude Opus 4.8. They just rolled out the ability to change system instructions mid-session without breaking the prompt cache. Previously, if an agent was running a complex operation and you needed to tweak its parameters, you had to dump the entire context window and start from scratch, burning tremendous compute. By preserving the prompt cache, an AI can pause, ingest a human course correction, and immediately resume without recalculating its entire history. It does not get amnesia anymore. That infrastructure update was the foundation for what just leaked out of Anthropic, their internal persistent background agent platform, codenamed Conway. Designed to live on your machine indefinitely, Conway operates using specialized tools via webhooks. There is Orbit, which handles proactive app automation across Slack, Teams, and Gmail, acting as a personal secretary. Then there is Operon, built for managing massive scientific data pipelines, and Bugcrawl autonomously roams through enterprise codebases, identifying memory leaks and pushing fixes without a human ever asking. We are looking at the birth of the autonomous digital workforce, and the entire industry is pivoting to match this. Take xAI, who just dropped Grok Build 0.1 into public beta. This is not a conversational model. It is optimized at the architectural level for autonomous software engineering. Furthermore, their image-to-video model, Grok Imagine Video 1.5 Preview, just dominated the Arena.ai leaderboards. We also cannot ignore the open weights community. Minimax just pushed their M3 model out to the public, featuring an ultra-long 1 million token context window. To explain why this matters, in AI, a token is basically a chunk of data, usually a word or a piece of a word. A standard context window a year ago was maybe 8,000 tokens. But 1 million tokens is roughly equivalent to a dozen full-length novels. For an agent to be truly autonomous, it needs extreme short-term memory. If it is debugging a massive legacy codebase, it needs to hold the entire architecture, the documentation, and the error logs in its active memory simultaneously. But this level of autonomy, with agents running 24/7 and pulling massive context windows, is fundamentally incompatible with the current business model of software. When you ask an AI to write a haiku, it costs fractions of a cent. When an agent spends 14 hours autonomously restructuring a database, it consumes massive amounts of electricity and silicon wear and tear. Providers cannot subsidize that anymore, which brings us to an inevitable pain point. Microsoft is officially shifting GitHub Copilot from a flat-rate monthly subscription to a usage-based, token-metered AI credit system. Pro subscribers get $10 in monthly credits, and Pro Plus users get $39. This is the end of the zero interest rate phenomenon for AI. The flat rate was a customer acquisition strategy to get everyone hooked. Under the new system, you are literally paying for the thinking time of the machine. It feels like moving from an all-you-can-eat buffet to a restaurant that charges you by the calorie. This will undoubtedly cause massive bill shock. If a developer tells an agent to build a new authentication module while they sleep, and it hallucinates and spins its wheels for 8 hours, they could wake up to a massive invoice for a failed operation. This profoundly alters human behavior. Startups and enterprise engineering managers are suddenly going to become incredibly defensive. We are going to see the rise of FinOps for AI, entire teams dedicated solely to auditing and throttling the token burn rates of their own staff. Speaking of human behavior, Anthropic ran an internal study on how social scientists use tools like Claude Code. The data showed that researchers with traditionally male names are utilizing AI coding agents more than twice as often as peers with traditionally female names, even when adjusted for identical career ranks. If one demographic uses coding agents to automate data analysis pipelines, while another is more hesitant, it creates an invisible but massive professional disparity that compounds daily. Tool adoption is deeply psychological, especially now that every prompt has a financial cost attached. Taking a step back, look at the physical reality of millions of agents running continuously. The server rack metaphorically, and sometimes literally, catches fire. Existing data center architecture was built for a different paradigm, and silicon giants are now in a state of panic, rewriting the rules of computer hardware. For 5 years, it has been the era of the GPU, which is incredible at brute force parallel processing for training neural networks. But running an autonomous agent is about logic routing, fetching memories, and sequencing disparate tasks. A GPU is a blunt instrument designed to multiply a massive matrix of numbers all at once. Agentic inference is highly sequential. It requires a central nervous system to direct traffic, bringing the CPU back to center stage. Nvidia knows this, which is why Jensen Huang announced at Computex the full-scale production of their custom processor, the Vera CPU. Designed around agentic loops, it pushes a staggering 1.2 terabytes per second of memory bandwidth. Think of the GPU as a world-class commercial kitchen with 1,000 incredibly fast chefs. They can cook 1,000,000 meals a minute. But memory bandwidth is the drive-through window. If 1,000 chefs have to pass finished plates through one tiny window, the entire kitchen grinds to a halt. Agentic AI constantly retrieves contextual data. It is continuously passing information through that window. Nvidia pushing 1.2 terabytes per second is essentially ripping out the wall of the restaurant so the chefs can move freely. And from a market perspective, Nvidia selling the GPU, the Vera CPU, and the networking cables creates a completely locked-in, proprietary silicon ecosystem. Intel is fighting back, launching the Xeon 6 Plus processors featuring an astonishing 288 efficient cores. In chip architecture, you have powerful P-cores, which are like gas-guzzling muscle cars built for heavy single-threaded tasks, and E-cores, which are more like a fleet of mopeds. When you have an enterprise running 10,000 different autonomous agents, you do not need a muscle car for each task. You need massive parallel, lightweight routing. Intel is positioning the Xeon 6 Plus as the ultimate switchboard operator while rolling out their expanded 800 series Ethernet with 200 gigabit speeds to ensure internal data center traffic flows without friction. But the third pillar to this hardware matrix is storage. Western Digital warned that AI is rapidly becoming a storage crisis. Agents create persistent, compounding data, terabytes of system logs and multimodal outputs. You cannot afford to store exabytes of unstructured data on high-speed solid-state NVMe drives. You have to rely on traditional spinning disk hard drives. Western Digital revealed their Ultrastar Data 3000 series JBOD enclosures. A JBOD, which stands for just a bunch of disks, is a massive metal chassis crammed with independent hard drives for unadulterated scale. To make spinning disks faster, they invented dual pivot drive technology, projecting a 4 times increase in throughput. A traditional hard drive read head operates like a stiff arm moving from the shoulder, but the spinning platter flutters from vibration, forcing the stiff arm to pause and micro-adjust. Adding a second pivot point is like adding a wrist to that arm. The shoulder handles macro sweeps, and the microscopic wrist perfectly counteracts the vibration in real time, drastically cutting physical seek time. All this hardware requires a physical home, and building a 100-megawatt data center takes 5 to 7 years. A startup named Span partnered with Pulse Group and Nvidia to put mini data centers inside residential homes. They utilize excess electrical capacity to run edge compute servers, bypassing commercial permitting to build capacity 6 times faster and 5 times cheaper. These bespoke liquid-cooled compute nodes capture heat and plummet directly into the home's water heater and HVAC system. Your AI server literally heats your shower water. The homeowner gets subsidized electricity, and the AI companies get a massively distributed supercomputer spread across suburban basements. This localization trend is moving agents directly onto your personal devices, creating the AI control plane. Microsoft is aggressively consolidating their scattered ecosystem into a single unified Copilot application led by Jacob Andriot. It bridges your personal life, files, browser history, and enterprise work data. It becomes the default gateway for your digital existence. You do not open Excel, you ask Copilot, and it opens Excel in the background. It is like handing the master keys of your life over to a capable butler who also happens to have the combination to your safe and reads your medical history. If one AI model dictates the flow of information for a Fortune 500 company or the Department of Defense, it is a massive cybersecurity single point of failure. That profound security terror is driving a dual pivot. specialized data isolation for enterprise applications, and powerful local hardware for on-device processing. For healthcare data, Microsoft rolled out Copilot Health, pulling wearable metrics, lab results, and medical records into a secure space, drawing from over 50,000 U.S. providers in partnership with Harvard Health. Meanwhile, true local inference is arriving via new hardware architectures. Nvidia unveiled the RTX Spark superchip, combining a custom CPU and GPU via high-speed NVLink to allow complex AI agents to execute directly on the laptop. Alongside this on-device shift, desktop automation is entering a new phase. OpenAI expanded its codec system with Windows 11 computer use, allowing the model to autonomously control the desktop interface, open apps, and move files. To streamline these developer workflows, OpenAI is retiring older cloud variants like GPT 4.5 and o3 in favor of structured response blocks, while launching Rosalind Biodefense to support allied governments against biological threats. Once you solve for autonomy in the digital environment, the next complex step is acting upon the physical environment with robotics. The digital world is bounded by structured rules, but the physical world is infinite in its chaos. OpenAI is aggressively hiring hardware engineers following their $6.5 billion acquisition of I/O products, aiming for a consumer future where everyone owns a personal, general-purpose robot. Building a general-purpose robot is monumentally difficult because of what is known as a world model. An LLM understands the world through text correlation, but a robot needs a physics-accurate, intuitive understanding of three-dimensional space, mass, friction, and object permanence. If you ask a digital agent to write a script, it does it in 3 seconds. But if you ask a physical robot to repot a delicate orchid, the permutations of physics are staggering. It has to calculate the exact pressure to grasp the fragile stem without crushing it, while accounting for shifting dirt and gravity. This is Moravec's paradox. High-level reasoning requires very little computation, but low-level sensory motor skills require enormous resources. Nvidia is attacking this with Cosmos 3, a foundational world model designed for robots to understand physical laws, alongside AlphaMyo 2 for autonomous vehicles, and the H2 Plus open reference design for humanoid robots. But to train these models, you need millions of hours of high-fidelity first-person video showing humans interacting with chaotic physical environments. A startup named Shift under MicroAge is offering absolutely free apartment cleaning services in New York City. The catch is that the human cleaners wear specialized Magic Hat camera rigs, recording high-definition, multi-sensor, point-of-view data of the entire chore. Shift pays people globally $20 an hour to film mundane tasks and sells that trove of first-person data to major AI labs. A messy living room has edge cases that a structured Amazon fulfillment center does not. Synthetic data cannot hallucinate a rogue sock hidden under a rug or a dog running through the room. We are trading the physical privacy of our messy living rooms just to get a free scrub down, feeding the machine learning beast with behavioral data. AI Know-How Daily, the agentic era and the new AI economy. Before we get into the final takeaways, just a reminder that you can find more insights like this at enuku.com. Now let's look at the societal backlash and the new rules being written right now. At the top end, localized AI is solving complex human bottlenecks. Click and Push Accessibility launched the Atlas, an app using crowdsourced data and machine learning to dynamically map micro-level physical barriers like broken elevators for people with limited mobility. 12 Labs introduced Rodeo, utilizing Marengo and Pegasus models to let creatives instantly search and edit massive video archives using conversational language, unblocking authentic human creators. Inherent Labs, backed by $50 million, launched the Faraday platform to put self-improving AI alongside scientists to evaluate which research paths have the highest probability of success, shifting the epistemology of science. But consumers are violently rejecting being force-fed AI. DuckDuckGo saw US app installs spike by a massive 30%, peaking on Memorial Day after Google forced AI-generated overviews into their search results. Users want agency. They want a clean list of blue links to evaluate credibility themselves. The pushback is intensely physical, too. Activist Aaron Brockovich is mapping the environmental impact of over 4,200 AI data centers across the U.S. She is tracking the millions of gallons of potable water drawn for evaporative cooling towers in drought-stricken communities, the grid brownouts, and the constant droning noise pollution destroying property values. The physical reality of the cloud is visible and loud, and it will lead directly to severe municipal regulatory crackdowns. On the macroeconomic front, Apollo's chief economist Torsten Slug claims there is zero evidence of AI-driven job losses. But saying AI hasn't caused job losses yet is like standing on the beach as the tide pulls out and saying, "Look at all this great new sand." The tsunami is building. We are in the capital expenditure phase, hiring construction workers and electrical engineers to build the infrastructure. The real economic test happens during the operational phase, when agents like Conway and Grok Build start doing middle management knowledge work at scale. Regulators are preparing for this operational phase. The European Commission just appointed 60 world-class technical experts to the AI Act scientific panel. They are tasked with actively penetrating safety guardrails, assessing systemic risks, and enforcing strict compliance. They are building the global blueprint for how a sovereign government stress tests artificial intelligence before it hits the public market. And because the EU market is so massive, these regulations become the default global standard. The boundary between software and physical reality hasn't just blurred, it has completely dissolved. We track the evolution from digital AI agents living in the cloud, upending software economics, to Nvidia, Intel, and Western Digital rewiring the physical architecture of compute, storage, and networking. We explored the push to localize intelligence on personal devices for total control planes, and how that digital intelligence is finally bleeding into physical robotics, turning our living rooms into training grounds for embodied machines. And that's your daily dose of AI know-how from Inuku.com, AI news you can use.